This week, we take a look at one of the bleakest depictions of the future ever shown with Akira. And along the way, we ask, is the violence forgiven since this is an animated film? Could we ever see a live-action adaptation of this film? And what's up with these raven, shriveled kids? Let's dig in on Force-Fed Sci-Fi. Hello, listeners, true believers. Welcome back to another rendition of Force-Fed Sci-Fi. My voice is the Colonel Sean Michael Culp, and along the way on this journey is...
I guess I'm the amorphous blob, Chris Rupp.
You're right. Oh, that blob was so gross. Yeah, like we said, welcome back. This is Akira. I think it's our first animated film that we've done.
No, we did WALL-E a while back, but this is our first Japanese anime film.
Yes, anime. Yeah, because WALL-E, what was that? Was that like just...
That's
like
Pixar.
Pixar? Yeah, it doesn't count. This is actually hand-drawn. This is no computer business. And it came out in, I believe, 1988.
1988, yeah.
So... yeah, let's dive into this bad boy.
So, 30 years after World War III has decimated the planet, and along with the destruction of Tokyo, the new city of Neo-Tokyo has risen from its ashes, but is plagued with government corruption, military oversight, and gangs running rampant through the streets. However, when a member of one of the gangs is involved in an accident, he is captured by the military and becomes subject to experiments involving mind-shattering hallucinations and ESP. Now his best friend and a group of resistance fighters must work together to save him and uncover the truth behind the corruption. I will admit I have been hesitant to watch this movie for a long time because I didn't know what it was about.
Oh, okay. I
knew it was set in the future, but I didn't know what I was getting into.
Okay. I saw the artwork prior, but I've never... I had a coworker years ago that gave me a list of all these great animated films I need to see before I die, but fortunately I lost the list, and along with it, I guess, Akira. So this was my first take on any of these. I guess there's like a list out there. Top 10, 15 films that talk about like World War II, Vietnam, X, Y, and Z, but this is... totally cyberpunk apocalyptic.
Yes.
It, like I was saying at the beginning, it came out July 16th, 1988. So this was kind of, 80s, man.
Yes, and we're not going to list off the cast since...
no, we don't want to butcher the names.
No, the Japanese actors have a bunch of names that we don't feel like butchering and doing them a disservice, and the American dub actors are people that no one will know. But I think it would be nice to provide a bit of background information on the making of Akira. So, at the time, this was the most expensive anime film of all time, with a budget of 1.1 billion yen.
Yeah.
Which is just over $9 million.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Think about that. 9 mil. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's well worth every penny, I would say.
Yeah, and this is based off on a 1982 manga series by Katsuhiro Otomo, who also directed this film. He inked a pretty good production deal to adapt his anime, and the film is mostly faithful to the plot of the manga, but there are some notable differences. One being that the U.S. military isn't involved in the film. There's a subplot in the manga where they do show up.
Okay.
And most of the events in the manga are condensed and formed into more of a cohesive plot. But after watching the final product of the film, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Otomo signed on to create the film under the condition that he would maintain creative control of the project.
Well, that's like you said, I think it's a perfect example of when the creator is like the sole control, but it's a good product. This isn't like one of those, what is that, Ron Sterling, or who is the guy from Star Trek?
Gene Roddenberry.
Gene Roddenberry that made the motion picture, and it's just like, oh God, Gene, why?
Although you did say Ron Serling, the creator of Twilight Zone. And it is important to acknowledge that show just celebrated its 60th anniversary. So happy anniversary, Twilight Zone.
Absolutely. But I don't think he took any part in the movie that came out. Because he might have died before that.
Rod Serling was a notorious chain smoker. I mean, there's many an intro to the Twilight Zone where he has cigarettes in his hand.
Multiple cigarettes in his hand.
Like, imagine, if you will, a world where I didn't smoke.
Yes, we will try.
And this Akira is a unique animated film in that it actually uses pre-scored dialogue, meaning the dialogue is recorded first, and the film is animated to match the movement of the actor's lips.
That's got to be something that's not very often.
No.
Because I usually see, like, they'll do the behind the scenes and they'll try to, like, match what's going on with the characters.
Well, this was actually the first anime film to do this, and even still remains a rarity today for anime films.
That's like, I don't know if you've seen the new Joker film, but...
Oh, yes.
Todd Phillips, what he did was he made the score before they did any of the filming. And then so he would play the score throughout whenever Joaquin would be filming a scene, whatnot, so they could get the feel of the mundane, like another bleak film, you know, so it could build up the tension that the characters were experiencing through it. So,
and Akira is full of these, what I call WTF moments.
They are.
And part of it is forgiven because it is an animated film, but at the same time, you're not expecting moments like these to come up in any film, let alone an animated film.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's tons of moments. Like the chase scenes in the film are top-notch, better than most live-action films.
Yeah.
There's the gore, the unexpected gore.
Like the guy getting shot up while he's harboring one of the raisin children at the beginning of the film. He just gets completely blasted. Godfather style. I mean, just
he got Sonny Corleone right there.
Totally, man. I mean, it's really brutal watching this.
Well, and it's also involving children.
Yeah, which is something you would never see, and I think it gets away with it because it's animated. Whereas a live action, I don't think you could get by that.
Well, if you had to guess, how old do you think Kaneda is and the rest of the gang he leads?
So initially, I thought he had to have been like early 20s, late teens, but I think he's like maybe 15, 16.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, he's not smart enough because the way he handles himself with women, he has no tact. And just like his choices are just so befuddling, I would say, the emotional maturity he experiences, you know, throughout the film. But yeah, he's a kid. Totally.
Well, I think a lot of that too is a product of the environment he is in, because he clearly doesn't have any sort of adults or parental figures in his life to tell him what he's doing is, you know, stupid.
No, they're not saying, get off the streets, stop your little biker gang, you know? No, he's literally the ringleader of that.
I mean, but it's safe to assume that any parents that he did have abandoned him at a young age off to this reform boarding school. It's never exactly clear what type of facility he's just dumped off at.
Yeah, they just have one scene where he's getting like slapped by the what is that, like the dean or something?
I would consider that a truant officer.
A truant officer just slapping all the boys.
Rather heavy-handed truant officer.
Discipline, discipline.
Which I will admit, I laughed so hard at that scene. But the whole time I'm thinking, you know, these kids are just going to get out of school, get to their motorcycles, follow you home, and beat the snot out of you.
Oh, yeah. There's no way. I'm surprised that guy, like, you saw the school, how just graffiti everywhere, like toilet paper. It's nuts how disgusting that school was.
And just the environment in general.
The whole environment was just so bleak.
Because we get these great shots of Neo Tokyo and these impressive skyscrapers that they have built after the destruction of World War III. But it's almost like Gotham City. Yeah. Where, yes, it looks great. The skyscrapers and the superstructures are gorgeous. But you get down to street level and you see there's crime and there's trash and there's villainy everywhere.
Yeah. Everywhere you go, there's people selling drugs, panhandling, biker gangs. Someone's trying to kill someone. It's really brutal. I thought that it was just well detailed, very well drawn.
Well, yeah, and it's a credit to the animators and Katsuhiro Otomo for maintaining the vision that he had in the manga to that in the film. Because if this were any other director or somebody who had a lesser vision, it wouldn't have been as detailed and it wouldn't have been as good looking.
I totally agree with that.
Because some of the animation is smoother than even some live action films.
Totally. I'm watching this going, oh my gosh, these scenes are like captivating, man. Them like in the sewers getting shot at by like the biker guy. Or what was that guy? He was like a floating, kind of like a racer from Star Wars.
Yeah,
Return
I
of
would
the
think
Jedi.
that was like a... I don't know. I didn't get the sense that that was the police.
No.
I felt like that the military was the police.
Yes. That's what this felt like. A very dictator-oriented regime where people just kind of obeyed. I can't remember if they said in the movie where it's like, they own the police, you know?
No, this is a very much male-dominated society.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I noticed when watching the film is a severe lack of female representation in the film.
Yeah. Lack of representation or lack of like a lead?
Both.
Because I saw there was females peppered throughout the film, like as officers and people working, but you didn't really get a lead outside of one of the Raisin Bran children, and then Kay, and then that terrorist chick.
Well, I mean, there were Kay and Kaori.
Yeah.
I guess Tetsuo's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But Kate is, she's almost like this secondary part in this resistance group. And it's not until all the men are killed that she becomes the de facto leader and has to step up at the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaori is... I don't want to say subservient to Tetsuo, but she's almost like this lost little lamb puppy dog that follows Tetsuo everywhere he goes.
Yeah, it was... I wish they would have fleshed out their relationship a little bit more, because that was some good stuff. Like when Tetsuo like saves her from the rape and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really all that you got of her until like you saw her just kind of mingling off to the side. You know, when like all the homies were out from the school, and then like she doesn't really appear much until the end.
You feel so bad for her because during that scene where her shirt is ripped open, she is bonked on the head pretty viciously, and poor girl is left to just lay face down in the street while Tetsuo has to deal with his mind-shattering hallucinations.
I know. It's not fair. Poor girl.
And the other females we get are, I'm going to assume that they're schoolmates of Kaneda and the rest of his cohorts. But we don't get their names.
No.
And Kaneda just brushes them off because he's relentlessly pursuing Kay.
Yeah. He sees Kay, and then after that, he's like, whatever.
Almost creepily so. He's like, hey, you want to get a drink? Like, dude, you're 15.
No. It was all creep. There was not almost creepy. His pursuit of women and, like, disregard for tact and any type of respect really bothered me watching. I was just like, this guy... He's just lousy.
Well, and
he was a horrible human being.
He was a horrible. I don't want to say he was a horrible human being. I just don't think he's ever found himself in a situation where he's had to profoundly reevaluate his thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah, well, that's true. He is the gang leader, and it seems like everything he's ever done, he's the ace. And everyone just bows to him.
That's true. He just reeks of jerk throughout the entire film. Even when we first meet him. And he's browsing through the jukebox. He seems like he's been there for a solid 10 minutes just going through songs.
Right.
And I'm sorry, to me, like, that's jukebox etiquette. You need to walk up and know what song you're going to play right away. I mean...
You can't just shuffle through it?
I mean, for me, it's Fat Bottom Girls by Queen every single time.
Every time?
Every time.
God.
Well, I play my one song, and then someone else can pick a song after that. But you got to know what song you're going to pick heading up to that jukebox.
I don't have jukebox etiquette, man.
Apparently not.
No, I'm the guy. I'm like Kaneda, unfortunately, just sitting there perusing. But it kind of makes sense between both of them and why Tetsuo ends up, I guess, like resenting Kaneda at the end. And it kind of like leads to him becoming this all-powerful being that basically destroys and kills tons of people.
Well, it's because Kaneda is 15. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to assume Tetsuo is 15. Mm-hmm. And Kaneda doesn't know how to manage the group that he's responsible for.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Well, he's surrounded by a bunch of yes men.
Yeah, he is, but he doesn't know how to appropriately handle the mantle of leader.
No. He just says, do as I say.
He's very brash. He's very short. He's very obstinate with his cohorts. Yeah. And even when he catches Tetsuo messing around with his bike, he chastises him to like get off the bike.
Yeah.
And like, go steal your own.
But I also feel
there's no way he had money to get that kind of bike.
I also felt like Tetsuo, though, like kind of set himself in those situations. Like, it just seemed like he was like the dorky brother that just could never stand and fly on his own. He always tried to be the man, but just always would fail utterly and need his older bro to like bail him out.
Well, at the same time, too, I mean, this is more of a coming-of-age story involving Kaneda and Tetsuo.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the stakes are higher as opposed to a movie like The Goonies, where it is kid-centric, but you never get the sense that the kids are in any real danger.
No.
And in Akira, when Tetsuo gets his powers and gets more and more of a god complex, it starts killing his friends, where Kaneda realizes, like, oh, crap, I have to do something.
Mm-hmm. And they have some good emotional moments where those kids realize, oh, my God, he just killed our friend. Like, he blew him up. Like,
yeah.
That was great moments. Like, I love the first, I guess you could call it the first kill or whatever for Tetsuo when he goes into the hall and, like, the scientists, like, surround him. They just literally splatters them. Like, just great visual imagery, great detail to the blood and everything. It blew my mind. But it shows, like, how brutal of a person he is.
Well, yeah, Tetsuo gaining his superpowers is almost like this slow descent into madness for him.
Totally.
I mean, these are issues that he's had that have been building for a long time, and now he finally has the means to do something about him, to resolve his anger and to resolve his feelings that he's had.
Well, yeah, it's like, I go back to it, but it's like the younger brother finally bulking up and beating the crap out of the older brother.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to step on me no more, man. So I felt that a lot throughout, especially when they're fighting at the end. Kind of, he's like, what, are you going to shoot lasers at me?
Well,
he
yeah.
was like toying with him, and you could see how Kaneda was so overmatched.
Well, it's clear that they've been best friends since childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And now Kaneda has to become a man and kill his best friend because he's out of control.
Well, see, that's interesting because you know that they're homies since when they're kids, but just the way they were treating each other and like how much of a dick Kaneda was to Tetsuo, I kind of felt like he deserved it. And it didn't really hit to me until after, like, Tetsuo basically explodes and becomes the ball of mass.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see their history together, like when they were growing up and he was helping him out and he got beat up too. You're like, oh, this is a great moment. It's like I wish they would have had more of those humanizing moments prior to Tetsuo becoming, crazy and like getting the superpower, because I couldn't care for either of them throughout. I'm like, just die. Just both die.
The Raisin kids have more personality than Kaneda or Tetsuo.
Absolutely. You can humanize and like understand their reasons for what they're doing. And I said the Colonel. I really like understood what the Colonel was doing, and I totally got it. I didn't agree with his like choices he made, all of them, but totally made sense. He was like fighting the corporate, and it's like his mind is military all the way. It's the only safe haven.
Well, again, this is going back to theory that there are no good people in this movie, because we're still not clear on what the Colonel's agenda is. Because bottom line, he's still a representative of the military.
Mm-hmm.
And is his agenda, utilizing the kid's superpowers as a weapon?
Yeah, they weren't so clear-cut, I would say, with his agenda. And that was a little sad, because I really wish they would have fleshed it out a little bit more.
Well, and he's clearly looking for an opportunity to further his agenda, because when he's about to be relieved of duty, he turns it around and institutes a coup against the senior council.
Yeah.
And, of course, the senior council is just full of bureaucrats and corporate guys.
They don't care.
So of course the Colonel can't get anything done to help him or the kids out. So I don't exactly consider him, the savior of the film.
No,
because he doesn't care about the kids. He cares about his career and his agenda.
No, but they definitely, I think the writing was they portrayed him so well where it wasn't the stereotypical bad guy. It's like you could understand and almost rationalize everything that he was doing. Kind of like, not to compare, but like Infinity Wars, why Thanos is doing what he's doing. It's like you kind of almost agree with him in a sense throughout the film, fleshing out a good character.
Well, and I love too when a movie can overlay all of these different threads into one story.
Yeah.
Because we have the military, and then there's the corporate government stranglehold and corruption,
poverty, class warfare.
There's the civilian population who's almost, they start like a death cult around Akira.
Yeah.
Do you think they even know what they're worshiping though?
No, and I think that's why the film did a great job building up the mystique of Akira. Like, you don't know what he is or what it is, if he's alive or not, until the very reveal at the end.
I don't think they actually know that Akira was the cause of that explosion 30 years ago.
No.
Because that explosion, from what I gather, kickstarted World War III. As everybody was starting to drop nuclear bombs because nobody knew what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they're worshiping death, but again, this is nothing new. I mean, there's cults all the time.
Yes.
That sprout up, like, and their end game is, suicide. But I mean, death is something that we as a society fear, but we ultimately embrace. I mean, just look at all the zombie shows that are on television, all the vampire films, and how we embrace werewolf mythology. Death and horror is something that's not new to society.
No, it goes hand in hand, generally speaking.
But it's ultimately blind worship, though.
Yeah.
They don't know what this is. They don't know what Akira is, and they don't know the path that they're going to go down. It's like, release Akira!
Give him to us! Oh, that's funny. Do you have any blind worship in your life? Or no? You're a pretty straightforward type of guy.
I'm more of a seek your own answers type of individual. Yeah. I mean, I don't condemn religion. I mean, by no means. If that's what does it for you, then God bless us all. But I do encourage people to seek their own answers if religion isn't the thing that does it for you. I mean, there's philosophy. There's other types of meditation techniques. There's doing things that make you happy. There's being outdoors. There's exercising.
Absolutely.
Reading and writing. I mean, it's bottom line. People should seek their own answers.
Absolutely.
We cannot direct you to any sort of profound life truth. It's up to you to find that.
Whatever it is, pray to whoever you want, even if it's Joe Pesci. Pray to Joe, baby.
The Church of Pesci.
The Church of Pesci. That's my guy.
Just be showing Goodfellas all day long.
All day, just all of it. Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino. That's all we need. He's going to be in the new movie, The Irishman.
Although, if I were going to pick a church around a Scorsese actor, it would be De Niro.
De Niro?
Yeah.
You think so?
The Church of De Niro?
The Church of De Niro? You'd just be like method acting the whole time and like squinting and like just nodding. You'd just be nodding the whole time.
I don't see the issue with this.
Is that what you want to do? I do like maybe the Church of Al Pacino.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole time, man.
Welcome to worship. Oh.
Welcome. Hoo-ah. That'd be amazing. Oh, I love that man. He needs to do more. So what else?
Well, in Akira, I mean, you mentioned this off air. There are a ton of allegories for the events leading up to this film that inspired Otomo to write the manga and direct the film.
Oh, yeah. Nuclear warfare, for sure. It's like a big criticism or like a look at humanity and how we would handle that power and technology. Because I like the ironic how it's set in Tokyo, especially like with Hiroshima and everything, I think it's beautiful. It's a good reason for them to write.
Hiroshima was able to rebuild their city after the atomic bomb dropped, and it's really become this center of peace. And they want to encourage world peace, free from nuclear weapons. And it's a very admirable mission that the city has undertaken in the wake of World War II. But like you were saying, humanity has never been able to responsibly wield the mantle of scientific discovery.
No, and it's absolutely. We see it with the military general having his own plans. It's never really clear cut what the terrorists want to do with Akira or the kids when they release the Raisin children. I mean, you just never know. It's all like chaos, even with the biker gangs. So I think it's a really good critique of culture.
Well, and it's also interesting, too, to watch the merger of technology and biology.
Yeah.
Like the most prominent being when Tetsuo has officially lost control at the end of the film and is just absorbing. It doesn't, regardless of what it is, he's just absorbing matter into this blob.
Yeah. He loses, he's off the pills. It's done. And then he just goes and kills Kaori or whatever. Kaori, dang it. And it's
well,
just.
that scene especially is very haunting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I personally think that Kaori is symbolic of Tetsuo's humanity.
Yeah.
And as he's gained more and more abilities and has become more confident in his powers, he's lost that connection to Kaneda and his friends. And ultimately, when he becomes this blob and he's accidentally taken Kaori in, he's asking Kaneda to save her, but he can't do anything.
No.
Like, I can feel her. She's in pain. You need to help her.
And then, poof.
She pops like a balloon, and it is one of the most gruesome deaths in the film.
It's brutal,
and you just feel so bad for her because, like, she's just this little puppy in the film.
It's not her fault.
No, it's 100% not her fault.
That's why she's my red shirt. I just feel so bad for her.
We agree on red shirts this week, although I could have picked the 2 dogs that were killed in the beginning of the film.
I know. I saw those too, and I'm like, God, another freaking movie.
And those dogs, I mean, and it's rare that we see, like, the dogs get shot like that.
Yeah. Oh.
It's usually off screen or there's a quick cut, but we never see the dog get shot and then fall in the hood of a car and bleed all over the place.
I'm telling you, this film is brutal.
Well, and also, too, one of the main themes in the film is definitely this loss of innocence.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and we briefly mentioned that. And I think when you do a film that's kid-centered, and especially when a few of the kids die, you have to, that is the theme of the film, is loss of innocence.
And they do. That's the total arc of these characters. They grow so much, though. You see them change immediately from the beginning to the end.
Well, Tetsuo,
he's the big change, I would say.
He is the big change, and his coming of age, loss of innocence, is him transitioning to that higher plane of existence, that extra dimension. That is his arc. And Kaneda's is realizing that those other kids sacrifice themselves to save our world, and now I have to do better than
as a leader.
Yeah, I have to do better so I can lead this new world.
He was just so slow with this.
Yeah, he was slow on the uptake there,
chasing tail the entire time until finally. Oh yeah.
Although it's unfortunate because the kids with the ESP abilities, they're not the cause. But all the corruption and military oversight is because of the kids.
Yeah.
And their abilities.
It's not their fault.
No.
It's our fault.
It's our fault. It's our fault for keeping them and trying to harness their gifts for selfish abilities.
Yeah.
But it's when they band together and sacrifice themselves, they get rid of the corruption, the military's gone. So they get rid of the male-dominated society, and guess what? Kay shows up, and the future is female.
All right, let's relax. I wouldn't say. I mean, if that's what you go, Mr. Star Wars.
I mean, that's what I thought. It's just Kay shows up, and the kids mention that Kay has the ability, and she's slowly gaining her power. So
future is female.
So and everybody has the power apparently.
Matriarchy. Who would have thought that's the truth to winning society, a matriarch? No, I mean, I just felt she was a very level-headed person, so it just makes so much sense that she would be the one, that would harness her powers before Kaneda, because Kaneda was just, like we've said, he's behind.
Yeah, slow on the uptake there.
Slow
Kaneda.
on the uptake, so it only makes sense that she would be the one.
Well, I want to ask you this.
Uh-huh.
How would you act if you gained abilities like Tetsuo?
Probably selfishly. Whatever could benefit me the best. Get all the money in the world. And then delete my powers and change my identity. And I'm just rich. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Like Kaneda? Or like Tetsuo? Because what was his powers? He could fly, and then he could just eviscerate people into little... I'm
going to assume he had just psionic powers.
Psionic powers? Yeah, I don't know.
Like Jean Grey in X-Men.
Okay. I can't really think of how I would use my powers.
I mean, me personally, I could do without the awful hallucinations.
Like your guts spewing
Yeah,
out.
feeling like my intestines are falling out of my chest cavity.
I mean, are we counting, like, is that all taking part? Like, his adventure, Tetsuo, is that, like, that's what I'm going to have to go through?
Yes.
Because if that's the case, then just put a gun to my head, man. I'm not going to go through it. Or just give me the pills, and I'll just be like well...
Well, let's just assume, for argument's sake, that it's going to end the way it ended in the film.
Oh, okay. Well, then there's no choice. I'll probably do the same thing.
Well, Tetsuo could have stopped at any moment, too, because, when he lifts the Olympic Stadium out and sees the remnants of Akira, I mean, that's a pretty clear warning of what's going to happen to him if he continues down this path.
Yeah, and he still goes for it.
It's like, what's his plan with those? Is he going to eat those, drink those?
I don't know.
Regardless, it's still gross.
It sounded like he wanted to kill him or something because he wanted to be the strongest. But then when he realized Akira was already dead, it's like...
Tetsuo's going for his I'm the captain now moment.
No. Just like eat his remnants
organ
of spleen.
monster.
Right? No, eat your soul. I'm the best now. God.
Psychic organs. Gross.
Chris, because we're adults, we probably wouldn't eat the organs. We would be better
we'd
than
cook them
Tetsuo.
first.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Medium rare, medium, whatever the flavor, baby.
Well, did you have anything by way of a lens flare, Sean?
For lens flare, not really. I think outside of just the kids being so deplorable. That just annoyed me as a viewer watching it. It's like, I get it, Canada. You're mad. Can we at least progress as a person? I loved the violence in it. I thought it was great. So that wasn't a big standout to me. It's like, oh, yeah. How about you?
As funny as the scene was, I would have to pick the truant officer going down the lane and just slapping each of the kids open palm. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they do not care about going to school.
Right?
They're only in front of these administrators because they got caught.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't see another shot of them going back to school or even thinking about going back to school.
No. That was just there to show them that they do not care.
Well, again, Kaneda isn't meant to be a hero.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an anti-hero.
I
mean, and this is the day and age in Hollywood and films in general where the anti-hero was replacing the strong, silent type of films.
Ooh. Like in the 80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and this is going back. I mean, I think Han Solo, the character, really started all of that with his anti-hero-ishness.
Just going in.
And then, I mean, going further down the Harrison Ford rabbit hole, I mean, you get Indiana Jones and Rick Deckard from Blade Runner. And Kaneda from Akira is a prime example of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
He's the leader of a street gang. So already then he's morally reprehensible.
Right.
I mean, but we do see that in the end he is a loyal friend and he's trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's almost like because he has no other options left that he's...
right.
That
exactly.
he now has to do this.
He's literally in a corner. It's like, all right, do this or die. So that's fair.
So... with all that in mind, Sean, let's discuss the legacy of Akira.
Okay.
So, the film currently holds an 88% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And it took a while for it to come over to America. And I don't think America was quite ready for
this type of
film, let alone how bleak the future depiction was, but I think just not the style of animation.
No, they weren't. And if you read the YouTube comments, people say, this is stuff from my nightmares, man. So I get it.
Well, this kicked off a ton of different shows and movies that were drawn in this style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dragon Ball Z was about to make its way to our shores, and Pokemon, Eon Flux,
Dragon
which was
Ball,
like an American MTV animated show at the time. Those would come out shortly afterwards and introduce American audiences to the style, but not exactly in its pure form.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there would be other series also like Ghost in the Shell, Cowboy Bebop, Gundam, and Pokemon that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Just one of the biggest anime franchises ever.
All time. Yeah. They literally made a movie about
it. Even that style has influenced American series like The Boondocks, Samurai Jack, the Powerpuff Girls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the influence of Akira cannot be overstated.
That's why it's rated as the top 5 best animated films of all time.
Well, yeah, this is consistently ranked as one of the best animated and best science fiction films of all time.
Yeah, it is.
It's credited with kickstarting the cyberpunk genre and is the prime example for the Japanese subgenre within cyberpunk. And its main influence goes beyond the animated films and into mainstream Hollywood films. I mean, like The Matrix, The Dark Knight, Looper, Kill Bill, Midnight Special, Inception. They all drew influence from this film. And that's so cool. When an animated film from Japan is this cultural watershed that just influences so many things beyond its intended reach.
He crushed it.
Well, I found a great article from the Washington Post by Hao Chu.
Okay.
It's outlining some of the influences that Akira has had throughout the years.
Okay.
The creators of Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers, have noted that Akira influenced a lot of aspects on their show.
Interesting.
Specifically, the character of Eleven, her powers and the government oversight, and then some of the design of the creatures, I think particularly in season 3, when getting into body horror. But
okay.
You don't watch Stranger Things, although you really should.
I don't.
Because you're a jerk.
I watched the first season. I was just bored.
Whatever.
Well, sorry, man.
Well, Kanye West even paid homage to Akira with in his music video for Stronger.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to watch it again.
Kaneda's bike appears in the film Ready Player One from last year.
Yeah.
And it's also influenced video games like Batman Arkham Asylum, Cyberpunk 2077, and Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Dude, see? This is it.
It's so, like I said, it's so cool that you can trace all of these things back to one film.
That's nuts. Even Lupe Fiasco's Tetsuo in Youth. It's literally based off of the kid's name, Tetsuo.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This blows my mind. I'm going to listen to that album now.
You're probably going to go watch the music video for Stronger now, too.
Absolutely. That's just so crazy. That's when you know, like we've said, when the film can influence so many things.
If we weren't set in our current podcast format, we could easily devote an entire podcast researching and discussing the far-reaching impact of Akira.
Maybe once we get a Patreon.
Yeah.
Then we can do extra stuff.
Well, and it didn't stop with the animated film. Warner Brothers acquired the rights to do a live-action adaptation back in 2002. And there have been plans to adapt the film going as far back as then. The most recent news being in 2017, the director of Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, was tasked with directing a live-action adaptation. And I said he would have an all-Asian cast in the film, but with him being announced as the director of Thor, Love and Thunder, these plans seem to be on hold for the time being.
Okay.
I mean, would you even want to see a live-action adaptation?
No.
No?
No, I feel like there's so many elements in this film that it's just so embedded in the time and the culture of Japanese culture that it just wouldn't translate over to American audiences. And like with our modern 2019 perception, it just wouldn't work. People wouldn't be able to deal with, I think, what was going on with the male-dominated cast and the way kids and the brutality of it. And if they do change it, it's probably going to be Americanized. And if it's Americanized, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
And have a crappy storyline. And we're going to dice it up. So I'm good.
I think whitewashing a live-action version of Akira would be a massive mistake.
Totally.
Because the same thing happened with the Ghost in the Shell adaptation a couple of years ago with Scarlett Johansson. And there was a ton of backlash against that film, and it really hurt it in the Asian markets.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that's not the only reason that studios shouldn't whitewash, but it is a big part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think Warner Brothers is waiting to see how other Asian casted films are going to do at the box office before fully committing to that. I think they want to wait and see how Marvel's Shang-Chi is going to do at the box office before they go in for the win on Akira. But if you're going to do a live-action adaptation, you have to do it right. You have to do it with an all-Asian cast. You have to set it in Japan, in Tokyo, and you have to have somebody who's on board with that vision. And Taika Waititi is the person to do it. but the project has to be in the right studio hands for that to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to see it. CGI, there's some things that are that look good on animation,
Well, I wouldn't mind
and that would look horrible in real life. Like Tetsuo
Mhm.
becoming a blob, that would just look horrible. Like in real life, you'd be like, "What is this?" It's just, to me, it would be incomprehensible where it wouldn't translate.
I wouldn't mind a long form animated adaptation like on
Ooh.
Netflix or FX or
Fleshing it out.
yeah,
more.
flesh it out. You give the manga more of a chance to breathe and develop.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Maybe.
So, Sean,
Yeah.
if you had to rate Akira on our scale of would watch, would own, and would host a viewing party, what do you give to 1988's Akira?
Oh, I'd give it a host viewing party all the way.
Okay.
This is so culturally significant, and like it's influenced so much. I'm only just surprised that it's not in the United States. They haven't certified it or put it in like what's that
the
called?
Library of Congress?
Yeah,
The National Film Registry? Well, it's from Japan. That's why.
Still, come on, or at least they haven't done it. I think it's just so important to people that like anime, and it's a big change of pace being R-rated and being so brutal but having a good message. So
Absolutely.
it's something for the books, man. You got to don that cyberpunk boots and bike.
I want to get Kaneda's jacket.
Kaneda's jacket,
Yeah, that was a cool jacket.
That is a dope jacket.
For me, I would call this a would own.
Yeah,
But this is one of the best animated films that I've ever seen, bar none.
oh yeah,
And it's so unlike any other film that came out at the time, with the incredible attention to detail and a story that feels unique despite borrowing several elements from that which influenced it. It is awesome. I enjoy the struggle all the characters have to face, and I love if a film is able to weave together numerous different threads into a cohesive story. I thoroughly enjoy that. However, I feel like a lot of people simply wouldn't get this.
yeah.
And admittedly, like I said at the top of the show, I was hesitant to watch this film for a long time because I wasn't a huge fan of anime. But I strongly encourage people to give this film a chance to change their minds.
Yeah.
So now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go on Amazon for a minute and find a collector's edition to buy and display it on my shelf.
Totally. I mean, look at the cover artwork of this. Him walking to the bike.
I mean, it's
just
iconic.
It's sexy. It's amazing, dude. I love this.
Yeah. So normally we would spend this portion of the show enlisting our friendly random number generator AI, Major Samantha,
Yep.
to pick our next film. For our film next week, we wanted to do something tad different.
Yeah.
We selected a Netflix film for next week. It is a release from this year, 2019, starring Hilary Swank and the voice of Rose Byrne. It is I Am Mother.
Yeah. I saw that was pretty heavily over the summer about that, right? We
Yeah.
saw a trailer and we're like, we got to do this. So we finally found some time. Drop it in.
Yeah, so that'll be our film for next time. Please watch and enjoy with us. And if you enjoyed today's show, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps to drive us up the charts as well as help people like you find the show. We are across the spectrum of social media with Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at ForceFed Sci-Fi. You can check out and download episodes at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you find podcasts. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Finally, you can check out our website, forcefedsci-fi.com, for show notes and links to all of our social media. So for all of us at the ForceFed Sci-Fi team, we will see you next time. ForceFed Sci-Fi is written and hosted by Sean Culp and Chris Rupp. Website design, associate producer, and editing by Jeremy Keski. Artwork designed by Mike Berger. Theme music composed and performed by Custom Anthem.